And so therefore, we must consider ourselves fortunate to be within ISKCON and connected to this exalted parampara of great acharyas who are all manjaris from the spiritual world. That's our unlimited good fortune. And so therefore, if we understand these literatures given by these Goswamis and stick to their instructions, then the prayojan is guaranteed. And therefore, Srila Prabhupada greatly emphasized on following the footsteps of the sadhus, the great souls. And by doing so, then we can achieve the goal. So before creation of this cosmic manifestation, the Lord enlightened the heart of Lord Brahma with the details of creation and manifested the Vedic knowledge. So we know that Tene Brahma Hridaya Adi Kavaye. So the Lord, at the time of creation, he manifested the Vedic knowledge in the heart of Brahma. In exactly the same way, the Lord, being anxious to revive the Vrindavan pastimes of Lord Krishna, impregnated the heart of Rupa Goswami with spiritual potency. By this potency, Srila Rupa Goswami could revive the activities of Krishna in Vrindavan, activities almost lost to memory. In this way, he spread Krishna consciousness throughout the world. So in exactly the same way, the Lord, he impregnated the heart of Rupa Goswami with spiritual potency. And so therefore, he empowered Rupa Goswami to revive the lost places of Krishna's pastimes, and then also give all these literatures to very analytically and very deeply explain the process of devotional service by which one can achieve the Supreme Lord. So therefore, we must understand that how Rupa Goswami was not only given these instructions by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, but also greatly empowered by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to perform all these services. So it says in 1933, at Srila Prabhupada's initiation, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati instructed him to study this book, Bhakti Rasamrit Sindhu, the law book on devotional service. So Prabhupada received that instruction right at the time of his initiation. So that means that Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur considered the Bhakti Rasamrit Sindhu as a very important book, as a law book. So Prabhupada also often would say that devotees must be like lawyers. Whatever they speak, they must be able to quote from the scriptures. And so therefore, the Bhakti Rasamrit Sindhu is like a law book because there are so many rules and regulations, and Rupa Goswami has given references from different scriptures to establish the authenticity of these rules and regulations, and what will be the results of following them, what will be the results of not following them. And so therefore, it is like a law book. Srila Prabhupada accepted sannyas on September 17, 1959. Moved to an upstairs room at the Radha Damodar temple and concentrated his energy on translating into English and purporting the Srimad Bhagavatam. So we know there are these famous rooms at Radha Damodar temple where Srila Prabhupada lived. And so Srila Prabhupada himself said that this corner at the Radha Damodar temple is just like the hub of the wheel of the spiritual world. It is the center. And so Srila Prabhupada himself said that this Radha Damodar temple is like the center of the spiritual worlds. So a very important place. And Prabhupada did say that I eternally reside in my rooms at the Radha Damodar temple. Srila Prabhupada's decision to stay in the Radha Damodar Mandir was an indication of his conscious and fervent desire to live, serve, and write under the shelter of Srila Rupa Goswami, and to very practically seek his blessings for his life's mission of translating the Srimad Bhagavatam and preaching in the West. So it was a conscious decision of Srila Prabhupada to reside at the Radha Damodar temple before going to the West, so that he could get the mercy of Srila Rupa Goswami, to get the blessings for his life's mission of translating Srimad Bhagavatam and preaching in the West. So Srila Prabhupada especially chose this place to perform this service in order to get that special mercy and blessings of Srila Rupa Goswami. And we know that Srila Prabhupada, as he would be writing the Srimad Bhagavatam, translating and purporting the Srimad Bhagavatam, he would sit in the kitchen, which was just facing Rupa Goswami's Samadhi. And looking at Rupa Goswami's Samadhi, he would write his books. There are many interesting pastimes of Srila Prabhupada before he went to the West, which have been written, or rather compiled, by one of Prabhupada's disciples, Mula Prakriti Mataji, in a book named as Srila Prabhupada, A Friend to All. I don't know how many of you have read the book, seen the book, but it's a very wonderful book where very less known pastimes of Srila Prabhupada before he went to the West have been compiled. So this Mataji, who also passed away a few years back due to cancer, but she took this great difficult task of going to different places like Vrindavan, Allahabad, Mayapur, and interviewing different personalities, different devotees who have been during the time of Srila Prabhupada before he went to the West. And so she had recorded all these interviews. Most of them were all in Hindi and Bengali. And then she had them translated and compiled. So a very, very great endeavor she did to reveal these wonderful pastimes of Srila Prabhupada. So the book is, of course, now available on the Vedabase. You can see it in the most recent Vedabase 2009, 18, 19. So the book is available, so you can read these very, very wonderful pastimes. And there are quite a few pastimes of Srila Prabhupada at the Radha Damodar temple. I would like to narrate one pastime to explain this point that is being said over here, and that is how Srila Prabhupada stayed at the Radha Damodar temple, especially to seek the mercy and blessings of Srila Rupa Goswami. So there was one devotee staying right next to the Radha Damodar temple, one Brajvasi staying right next to the Radha Damodar temple. And so that time he was quite young, but so every night, this devotee would hear some crying sounds from the Radha Damodar temple compound. So it would sort of disturb his sleep. And so he would be wondering, who is this? And so it continued for a few days. And so one day he was very eager to find out from where is this sound coming. And so he climbed to the terrace of his house, which was just adjoining the compound of the Radha Damodar temple. And so from his terrace he could see the compound of Radha Damodar temple, and especially Rupa Goswami Samadhi. And so from his terrace he saw this old sannyasi that was Srila Prabhupada. Of course, he didn't know at that time. This is before Srila Prabhupada went to the West. But he saw this old sannyasi who was sweeping and cleaning in front of Rupa Goswami's Samadhi in the middle of the night. And as he was sweeping and cleaning, he was crying, begging and and praying for the blessings of Srila Rupa Goswami. And so he was amazed. At that time, of course, he didn't know anything about who this personality was. But then, of course, so then many years later, when this Mataji went and met him, then he revealed this pastime. So that was Srila Prabhupada who was begging and crying to receive the blessings and mercy of Srila Rupa Goswami to carry out the instructions of his spiritual master. Okay, somebody can read this, please.
Abhayanand Harikshit Guruji.
So when you went to Vrindavan, you had given up the idea of coming to the West. No, coming to the West, the idea was there, but I was planning how to go there, how to preach there, how to take some books, how to bring them everything alone. So as soon as you had some books, then you were, yes, then I decided everything was being directed by Superior. With Srila Prabhupada in such a congenial mood, I took the courage to broach something. Harikesh once mentioned to me, I was told that one day you were told by Rupa Goswami that you must go. Prabhupada's mood changed slightly, but that was open secret, he said dismissively. Everyone knew. Then he changed the subject.
Okay, so Prabhupada did give some indication that Rupa Goswami personally instructed him to go to the West and preach. So this is from the Transcendent Diary by Harishari Prabhu. And so Mahanidhi Swami writes in his book that actually Srila Prabhupada had a vision of Srila Rupa Goswami where he instructed him, Maharaj, don't worry about anything, go ahead and travel to the West and preach. Just preach the message of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and the chanting of Hare Krishna, you'll be successful. I guarantee, because I will be right with you all the time. And of course, more definitively, Srila Prabhupada had the vision of Krishna himself and all the acharyas after he got the heart attack on the ship. And there definitely he had this vision of all the acharyas instructing him and blessing him to go to the West and preach and write the books, and they would definitely support his endeavor. So in any case, Srila Prabhupada, he definitely had the blessings and the mercy of Rupa Goswami and all the previous acharyas to perform this service. So it's very important for us to understand the authenticity of these books that Srila Prabhupada has presented. So sometimes within ISKCON also, some devotees, they say that Srila Prabhupada didn't present everything and he presented just for Westerners, and so we need to read some other books besides Prabhupada books, and some even leave ISKCON thinking that we can never achieve the highest stages of devotional service if we simply stay in ISKCON. Here there's only Vaidhi Sadhana Bhakti and things like that. So many misconceptions, so many misconceptions. The reason for all these misconceptions is not having a proper understanding of Srila Prabhupada and how he was blessed and what's the mercy that he received from the previous acharyas and the Supreme Lord himself, and how these books, they have been presented by these acharyas who are like who are manjaris from the spiritual world, and Srila Prabhupada has presented the same message as it is. So there is enough evidence to prove the authenticity and the exaltedness of what Srila Prabhupada has presented. And so therefore, what's important for us is to have full faith that if we simply stick to what Srila Prabhupada has presented within his books and just study them scrutinizingly in depth, then definitely the goal is guaranteed. That's the faith we must have. If we simply stick to ISKCON, serve in Srila Prabhupada's ISKCON, according to what Srila Prabhupada wanted us to do, then definitely the success is guaranteed. So that should be our great faith, understanding the very exalted position of these acharyas within our sampradaya.